And today we're going to be starting off with a little bit more complex concepts. We're going to be talking about the strict mode, something unique to JavaScript. I just basically want to show you guys how it works, what it is, and why we want to use it. So first off, you'll sometimes hear or see people talk about a sloppy mode or a non-strict mode. Now, this isn't an official term, right? But I just want you guys to be aware of it in case. Now, JavaScript Strict Mode was introduced inside of the ECMAScript 5. It's very similar to C#'s .NET framework. It's the same thing for JavaScript. They call it the ECMAScript. Now, with the newest release of the ECMA 5 scripts, they introduced the new strict mode, right? And it is a way to opt into a restricted variant of JavaScript. Now, by opting into this restricted variant of JavaScript, we're basically implicitly opting out of sloppy mode. I'll show you guys an example exactly of what this is and how it works. Basically, strict mode isn't just a subset, right? It intentionally has different semantics from normal code. Browsers that don't support strict mode will run strict mode code with different behavior from browsers that do run strict mode. So first thing we need to remember is we should not rely on strict mode without feature testing or support for the relevant aspects of strict mode. Now, what I mean by that is whenever we do use strict mode in our code, it is very, very important that we do test every application in different browsers or the websites in different browsers so we can make sure that all of the browsers do support strict mode and that everything still works accordingly. The reason for this is because strict mode, like I've said, it literally changes the behavior of how code is then executed inside of the browsers. And if you don't test it properly, it can sometimes cause some errors where you don't necessarily or might not expect it. So it's very important that when you do use strict mode to test out every single feature, especially in certain parts that you do use the strict mode. Now, strict mode makes several changes to the normal JavaScript semantics. For one, it eliminates some JavaScript silent errors by changing them to throw errors. Now, this is something that I'll show you in the upcoming example. It also fixes mistakes that make it difficult for JavaScript engines to perform optimizations. So strict mode code can then sometimes be made to run faster than identical code that does not use strict mode. And then also it prohibits some syntax likely to be defined in future versions of the ECMAScript. All right, so if we have a look here at the code that we have, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment out the strict mode usage here. So whenever you do use the strict mode like this, if it's at the very, very top of your script, it means that everything below it is going to function with the strict mode enabled, right? But everything above it will then not use the strict mode at all. So it's important that when you use it like this, everything that you want to use the strict mode needs to be below the declaration. Also, if you use it at the very, very top of your script, this basically just means that it's used in a global sense. So everything underneath it will then use the strict mode, but it's also very possible to use the strict mode in specific functions. Just to quickly show you exactly what strict mode allows us to do right now, it does have a lot of multiple functions and things that it does. So right now what I have is I've declared a quick variable here that just says has driver's license, and then I've assigned it to be false. And then just below that one, I've also created a constant boolean, just says passed test is also equals to true. Now, what I've done here is to check if passed test is equal to true. What I want to do is to say that the has driver's license that should then become true. And then after that, we check to see if the driver's license is true. And if it is, we print something to the console. And if it's not, we don't print anything. Right, so how this will work is as follows. So I'll just quickly run the code and then you'll see it prints to the console that we can drive, right? But now if we make, let's say for instance, a small spelling mistake, in this case, I'm just going to remove the S from the has driver's license variable here when we're assigning a new true value to it, right? Now, if I rerun this code, so if we save and refresh the page, you'll see that nothing happens. And the reason for that is because inside of our code, it's not picking up that we are using this variable anywhere. The reason for that is because we have now two different variables that we are using. Okay, now this should cause an error because we haven't actually declared a variable here, but it's trying to access one. So if we then enable our strict mode, right, I'll put the S back just so we can notice that it is the same variable. If we refresh, you'll notice that it's still printed out as normal. But if we remove the S from the as driver's license variable and we refresh, you'll notice that there is an uncaught reference error. And also what it does, it tells us what specific object it's referencing. In this case, it's the has driver license. And it also specifies the line where it is exactly, so we can easily go to the error and fix it quickly. So this is one of the small features that the strict mode allows us to do. It basically creates a safe environment for you to code in, where when certain syntaxes are incorrect or when you've made like a spelling mistake, there are many different uses for this, but if something happens, there's a bigger chance that the browser will actually tell you that there's an error and also show you where that error is, right? But now, for instance, if we remove the strict mode again, you'll notice that there is no error. So now, if our code doesn't run as expected, we don't really know exactly what's going on or why there's a problem. And that's simply because of the non-strict mode being enabled at the moment. It's not telling us that there's a mistake because technically it's not picking up that there is a mistake, all right? It's technically thinking that we're just trying to use a different variable, but it cannot find it, which in this case then never really executes accordingly, all right? So with the use of strict mode, we can then easily find small, simple errors that we most likely would never have found without it enabled. Okay, cool. So that's strict mode, just so you guys can understand exactly what it does and why we would use it. It's not something that you have to do, of course. It's something that's useful. It's just an extra feature that JavaScript allows us. You don't have to use it. It just sometimes makes your life easier, especially when debugging, because sometimes it makes the process quicker and smoother for you to work with. But like I said, it's not necessary or required. It's just an extra good feature that is recommended.
Thank you for watching. Want to learn more coding and programming tips? Check out our website, like and subscribe to our channel for more videos. Check you there.